The government hates it when people give away things for free. This is a reality that many have discussed for years. The government sees free things as a threat to its control over the economy and people. They see free things as a threat to their ability to tax and regulate the flow of goods and services. Food. Take, for example, recent news stories about the government stopping grocery stores from giving away free food that might be outdated. This is a perfect example of the government's hatred of free things. The government doesn't care about the fact that the food might still be perfectly good and safe to eat, or that it might be a great way to help people in need. They just want to control the flow of food and make sure they can tax it. One example of this is the New York City Health Department's crackdown on grocery stores giving away free food that may have reached its expiration date. According to a 2016 article by the New York Times, the health department was forcing grocery stores to discard excess food instead of donating it to food banks. This shows the government's determination to control the flow of food, regardless of its potential to help those in need. Then, in 2019, the New York Anti-Health Department changed gears and began enforcing a new law requiring grocery stores to donate excess food to charity. The thing missing from all of this is choice, or liberty. Who knows more about whether food is safe to consume, the grocery store employees or a New York bureaucrat? If you were to ask me, the answer seems obvious, but nobody's asking me. Grocery stores have the right to choose what happens with their food supply, and New York is impugning that right. Housing. Another example of the government's hatred of free things can be seen in its efforts to stop people from building tiny houses for the homeless. The government doesn't want people to be able to help the homeless in this way because they see it as a threat to their control over housing and homelessness. They want to control the flow of housing and make sure that only the housing that is deemed safe by their standards is being used by the public. They don't care about the fact that tiny houses might be a great way to help the homeless, or that they might be a more affordable and sustainable solution to homelessness. They just want to control the flow of housing and make sure they can tax it. A 2018 article by Reason details how cities have been using building codes and zoning regulations to prevent the construction of tiny homes for the homeless. The government's desire to control housing and homelessness overrides the potential of tiny homes to provide an affordable and sustainable solution to homelessness. Small business. Another way in which the government hates it when people give away things for free is through overregulation, which hampers entrepreneurship. This overregulation makes it difficult for people to start new businesses and creates barriers to entry for small business owners. This makes it harder for small business owners to compete with larger businesses and often prices them out of the market. This, in turn, stifles innovation and progress and leaves people with fewer choices and higher prices. Most cities make it illegal to sell things on the street without expensive permits. This makes it difficult for small business owners to sell their goods and services to the public. It also makes it difficult for people to buy things that they need at a lower cost. This is another example of the government's disdain for free markets and its desire to control the flow of goods and services. Like most countries, the United States has a long history of street vending. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, street vending was a common way for immigrant and low-income populations to start small businesses and sell goods to the public. Street vendors sold a variety of items, including food, clothing, and household goods. However, in the mid-20th century, many cities began to implement regulations on street vending, including permit requirements, restrictions on the type of goods that could be sold, and limitations on the locations where vendors could operate. These regulations were often aimed at controlling the appearance of the city and promoting public safety, but they also made it more difficult for street vendors to operate. Across the world, high-income cities tend to regulate street businesses out of existence. A homeless person cannot afford a permit. This barrier to entry is intentionally created to clean up street vendors, which leads to more panhandling and sales of illegal substances amongst the poor. Today, street vending continues to be a form of entrepreneurship, particularly in cities with large immigrant populations. However, regulations on street vending remain a challenge for many vendors, who must navigate complex permitting requirements and restrictions on their operations or engage in illicit business activities. Despite these challenges, street vending remains a popular and important way for small businesses to reach customers and provide goods and services to the public. The rub. In conclusion, the government hates it when people give away things for free. The government hates it when you engage in entrepreneurial or non-profit endeavors without their say-so. They see free things as a threat to their control over the economy and you. Bureaucrats use regulation and taxes to control the flow of goods and services and make sure that only the things that are deemed safe by their standards are being consumed by the public. This stifles innovation, progress, and competition and leaves people with fewer choices and higher prices.